This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, Antifa's violent assault on Patriot prayer. What an honor and a privilege to have with us this evening Joey Gibson, the founder of Patriot Prayer. Joey, welcome to the Glazov Gang.
Well, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
Joey, I was at the event recently at the American Freedom Alliance where we were talking about and focusing on how free speech is being censored and suffocated, and so many other themes in terms of how the left especially is becoming more, well, I wouldn't say more violent in the sense of they've always been violent, but on several realms it's getting really crazy, especially on our campuses with Antifa, etc. And you're very much at the center of this battle. You're a very brave, I would say freedom warrior that's actually going to campuses, and there's a video clip we're going to show this evening of the Antifa fascists attacking you and your people. So we're going to get to all that tonight. But let's just begin with a little bit of background about you. Joey, how should we start the program? Why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Oh yeah, my name is Joey Gibson, founder of Patriot Prayer. Basically, in the last year, a little bit less than a year, we've just been going around on the West Coast to just kind of, promote freedom and love, while at the same time bringing Antifa out of the woodwork to kind of expose them for who they are, to kind of bring them in the mainstream so that America, a lot of Americans didn't know about Antifa a year ago. And so our goal is we went out there to make sure people knew who Antifa was and what they're up to.
Right. And so, it's incredible in our world now, how good and evil are just turned upside down. So, Joey, you're for freedom, you're for unity, but somehow we're all being told that you're a white supremacist. So let's begin with just the absurdity of this. Just touch on this for a second for us.
Okay, so basically, there's two types of protesters out there who protest Patriot Prayer or who protest anybody, There's protesters who know that I'm not racist, okay, but they're going to say I am to further their own political agenda. And then there's the rest of the protesters who are like foot soldiers who seriously believe that, like, I'm a white supremacist. They seriously believe that, like, it's all about racism when that has nothing to do with it. When we went down to San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi, the mayor of San Francisco, the mayor of Berkeley, I've had politicians all up and down the West Coast literally say that I am a white supremacist. And I think it's because it comes down to the fact that they don't really have, they can't really knock on my message. Who's against freedom, and love and peace and God and unity and all these things. And so all they can say is that I'm racist. That's it. That's all they have. And so that's what they rely on.
And Joey, it is all they have. It's just incredible how the left thinks. It goes like this. Somebody disagrees with me. Oh, they're a white supremacist. Oh, somebody doesn't like Hillary Clinton. They must be a white supremacist. So in your case, Joey, how do you think the logic adds up? There's a gentleman of Japanese background that's a white supremacist. How does that work?
I don't know how it works in their minds, but they say that anyone can be white supremacist. I've heard that a lot. I've seen them call black people white supremacists, and so there's not too much logic behind it.
Yeah.
But it's it's mass hysteria. It's the mob mentality, and the other thing too. It's not just about. It's not just people at the bottom who disagree with you and call you racist. It's politicians at the top who are using Antifa and protesters to drown out, people who have a good positive message.
Right.
But in terms of the logic and justification, I don't know. I don't follow it completely, but there's a lot of things I don't follow and understand with the mob mentality.
It's a pathological world, but the left engages in all this name-calling. Just in terms of us at the Glazov Gang with Annie and myself, we work, a lot of stuff that we do, but a lot of our emphasis is trying to save little girls in the Islamic world from female genital mutilation, to bring awareness to honor killings, to try to save women from, gender apartheid. And apparently that's the new white supremacy. So go figure. So let's get back to you, Joey. Tell us here, so here's another thing of the slander against you. in many respects, some people say, oh, you're pro-Trump, as if that's like the worst thing in the world. But let's even correct that before we keep going. You're not necessarily even pro-Trump. You're just pro-freedom and unity.
Yeah, so basically, I was definitely very thankful that Hillary Clinton didn't make it into office, and I prayed a lot that Trump did win, you know. But now that Trump won, my thing, it's not about a politician, it's not about a man, you know. Trump will only have 8 years maximum, and for me, it's I don't worship him, and I want to see what he does. So if he increases freedoms, if he decreases regulations, decreases taxes, if the middle class gets bigger, right, and if the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting more poor, then I'm gonna have a problem with that. But if he does things to increase our freedom, you know, at the end of the 4 years, then I'll be very thankful, and I'll be glad to, you know, to go out and do rallies for him, you know, the next time around. But right now, it's not about him. You know, it's about freedom. That's the main thing. See, I have to dumb things down. I have to keep things nice and simple for America, because America wants to complicate. They want to complicate everything. You know, and we have these kids running around like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? You know, we got to get down to a foundational thing right here, and we got to talk about our culture. And so, if we get a nice, healthy culture, then we'll start to elect healthy politicians.
Okay, so Joey, let's flash back to June 2016. You're at a Trump rally in San Jose, and that was a landmark watershed turning point in your life, perhaps even spiritually, politically. It changed the course of your intellectual journey. Can we talk about that night, that day and that night?
Yeah, so I wasn't physically there. I was watching it on TV because I had never been to any rally in my entire life. And basically, yeah, it was just watching people leave the rally, okay? And this is what bugs me. The mayor had the police stand down, and you see women, children, you know, families leaving this rally and being attacked by the mob, okay? It's the mob mentality, because they seriously believe they're attacking a bunch of racist people. I don't know what the justification is, but you see a kid, the image I always remember, there's a kid who's maybe 18, 17, I don't know, a skinny little kid, and I think he's wearing a Trump shirt, but he's just running from an entire mob, like 20 to 30 people, and they end up tackling him, and he runs by the police and everything. And so there were so many things I saw, I saw hours of film, people getting spit on, people, you know, just being assaulted. And at that moment in time, my life changed, definitely. And I realized that I need to do something. I need to get involved. I don't know what it is, but I have to go do. I've never felt such a pull in my entire life to do something. And that's when I decided to go down to the RNC. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I went down to the RNC just expecting, you know, complete violence. And that's when I started to realize, like, how much the streets, you know, that culture is ran by the far left, you know.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matters, Antifa, the communists, you know, Bernie supporters and all that.
And they are violent fascists, and it's very, very interesting how they rationalize this kind of violence that you're describing. And it completely gets a pass in our culture, in our media, and yet we're the ones that are told that we're quote-unquote bad, etc. Now, Joey, you were changed watching that rally. I correct myself. You weren't at the rally. You were observing it. And so you were changed. And then you played a fundamental role in changing somebody that's very much beside you now. His name is Tiny, and you changed his perspective. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Tiny, great guy. Really excited to talk about him. He's a Samoan. I don't know, he's like 6'6", 350 pounds, big guy. Been through a lot in his life. And so in his community, and kind of a lot of the people from, you know, from Hawaii or Samoa, you know, the Samoans, a lot of them truly believed that Trump was a white supremacist. They just had that belief. He literally went around, he got in several fights with people. He would approach people with Trump stickers, Trump flags, and if they talked back, they would get in fight. He got in several fights. He would ruin people's cars and stuff. And so one day he was searching Trump fights or something like that, and he saw a Vancouver Trump rally. And I had just thrown a rally in Vancouver. And he saw one of my speeches, and it was about a 25-minute speech. And from what he says, you know, it changed his life, because he was like, wait, this isn't what I thought it was about, you know, because I'm talking about freedom and love and God and unity and coming together and all this stuff. He's like, wait, hold on. You know, he was really confused. And so I think it touched his heart, and that's when he decided to check out what we're about. And he ended up messaging me, and you know, we talked for a little bit, and he ended up driving all the way down to Berkeley in a car full of, you know, people who he thought were white supremacists. And the thing that really changed him is he didn't know who these people were, and he was still suspicious. But he remembers we drove by. It was a Mexican, basically, who had a flat tire, and so he saw them stop and to go out and help him, you know, because they would help anybody. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, or whatever. And so then he was like, wait a second, like everything he used to believe started to change. And then we went down to Berkeley, and he met so many people who just embraced him. They didn't care what color he is, you know, or who he is or whatever. There was just so much love down there. And then all of a sudden around the corner, we see, you know, hundreds of people dressed in all black, Antifa, come up with all the hate, you know, and the violence and throwing stuff and assaulting people. And he ended up spending the whole day protecting, you know, basically Trump supporters. And so that changed his life forever. And him and I, you know, been side to side ever since.
What a story. I'm fascinated by the white supremacist Samoan Japanese guys that are leading Patriot Prayer. This is fascinating. Now, even your rallies, the Patriot Prayer rallies, your members, they're even made up of more than half of them are actually minorities, correct?
Absolutely. We got so much diversity. It's crazy. It's fun. That's why I always make fun of Antifa, because we're so much more diverse than them. Our protesters, the people who protest us, are all just white men, you know, or like, it's just so funny. But we have tons of people, you know, we have transsexuals, we have gay people, black, white, brown. It doesn't matter. We have so many grandmas, you know, that support us on every single march, who are on the front lines. And so we have people from all walks of life.
Okay, so Joey, let's you did mention this. Let's go back to this in terms of this fascism of the left. So we see that this is a movement just for peace and love, for freedom, for free expression, made up of so many minorities, led by a Japanese fellow and a Samoan fellow. You guys just wanted to set up a Liberty Weekend, it was called, at Crissy Field in San Francisco. And Pelosi did what?
Yeah, she basically was setting herself up to be some sort of hero, calling us white supremacists. Basically, she was calling out extremists on both sides, right? What she did was irresponsible, because she's bringing in all of Antifa, the alt-left, and then she's bringing in the alt-right, you know, the white supremacist Nazis, you know, claiming that we're something that we're not. And it was weird. The rhetoric was all over the West Coast, all over the country for all the rallies. And so I had to basically do interviews almost every single day trying to explain the fact that I'm not a white supremacist. I had so many reporters reach out and like wanting to ask me questions like, why am I white supremacist? Why do I believe that like it's like the best race? And so I spent, you know, hours and hours every single day trying to clear up the mess and the lies. And like I said, all our speakers were either black, brown, Hispanic, or, you know, I'm Japanese. And so basically going down there, the way that the rally was set up and the security and everything, we felt like it was going to be a huge riot, and Nancy Pelosi was going to be some huge hero, like, oh, see, I told you guys, you know, we need to shut these rallies down and everything. And so, yeah, we basically canceled it. And the problem, here's what happened, okay? So the problem was everyone was trying to say that I'm violent, that we're violent, that we have hate speech and all this stuff, but they would never call out Antifa. And so I kept challenging people, like, what is your perception of Antifa? Like, do you support Antifa? Do you support their tactics? And they kept avoiding it, right? And so I knew that something had to happen that weekend. So we canceled the rallies, and I basically went around from spot to spot and just talked to, you know, normal citizens in San Francisco. And, like, once we were done talking, they were amazed. They're like, they're like, I thought you're a white supremacist. But basically, our goal was to somehow set up a situation so that Antifa is exposed, right? So that they're called out by the left. And so, yeah, that's basically when, and you have that video when me and Tiny and Pete just walked in the middle of, you know, 500 or whatever Antifa around all the liberals, you know, and all that stuff. And we basically just put our hand up and then just took a beating. And that way, no one can say that we were the violent ones, you know. Antifa always acts like they're the protectors of the city. And so that's, you know, we went there and disproved that.
Thank you, Joey. And that's actually what I want to get to next. But I just want to say it's so surreal. you know, the left, it never deals with the facts. It masquerades as this humanitarian movement, and yet, you know, they demonize everybody with name calling. And so this is a thing. And now they've got their white supremacist thing. And I know so many people like this, but they're just terrified not to be on the left. And this is, it's quite a thing, the bullying by the left, and then the terrified, many of the terrified members that are afraid to be a Trump supporter, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll get to that. But I've spent a lifetime analyzing this and fighting it, and this is why I appreciate you so much. Now, Joey, to say that you are brave is an understatement. So Berkeley, there's this Antifa thing happening at Berkeley, and you, Tiny and Pete actually decide to go there and get in the middle of these violent thugs. Give us the psychological preparation and what you were thinking and how you overcame the knowledge that you would probably get very physically hurt.
Well, it's actually something that built up for a while. So I had been trying to preach nonviolent resistance for a while, but it's kind of it's a hard one to convince people of. Trust me, especially in our movement. See, a lot of people believe that if you're violent towards Antifa, that for somehow it's going to further your cause, further your purpose, but it's absolutely false. All it does is strengthen them, and it helps with the narrative that they're the protectors, you know, of the city. So I've been preaching it for a while, and you know, it's something that I've been preaching about Martin Luther King for a long time, but no one really, you know, it's not something that's very popular nowadays on either side, anywhere, you know. And so I've been preaching it, people make fun of me. I've been preaching it, people make fun of me, and I've basically just been looking for that opportunity. The problem is that too many times I'm surrounded by hundreds of people who support me, you know what I mean? But when our people are violent, whether self-defense or not, the nonviolent tactic doesn't work, right? Because even if I take a beating, other people fighting in the streets right next to me overshadows that. And so basically we've been trying to find a way, a tactic to where, you know, we can exercise this and kind of show people. Basically that weekend I knew we were going to somehow do it because we canceled the rallies. So it gave us the freedom to be by ourselves. And we knew there'd be thousands of protesters. We just didn't know when or where and how it was going to happen. None of us knew what we're going to do until all of a sudden I was like, I'm going in there. And I just went in there and I thought I was going to go by myself. We didn't talk about it, but I turned around and Tiny and Pete were just behind me. And they didn't question anything. I didn't talk to them about it. It was just like, it was weird. And I just prayed. The 10 or 12 blocks I walked, I prayed, asked Jesus to walk with us. I must have said it, you know, I don't know, so many times. And we just walked in there and we all did the same thing. We all put our hands up.
Okay, and of course, the violence of Antifa ensued. We're going to show a clip of what happened at Berkeley that day with you guys. Okay, wow, terrifying and such bravery on your part, Joey. I can't help from beginning this with saying you're the ones being attacked, but the police do not do anything and end up arresting you guys. What's the logic here?
Well, they didn't. In their minds, they're thinking it's the safest thing to do because they didn't want the mob to charge them. So they arrested us just for the looks, right? They walk us down the corner, around the corner, and then they take the cuffs off, and then they just start hosing us down with a...
But they're not doing anything to stop this violence.
Correct. So that's basically the orders that they got from people above. And so, you know, we talked to a lot of the officers. They're like, it kills them to stand there to watch this stuff happen. But, you know, they have the orders to do it. So I don't really like to blame the police. I like to blame the politicians. But I'll tell you this much. After that day, the police they let him off the leash. And so now the police are allowed to do their job in Berkeley.
Right. Now, Joey, on that day, I think you were okay, at least on that day. I know you've been attacked many times. The gentleman in the red shirt, he took a hit. Is he okay? Who was that exactly?
His name is Pete Peters. He's actually a political rapper. He has a YouTube channel called Political Muscle, but he got knocked out cold, right? And he was not okay for a long time. He couldn't go out in sunlight. He couldn't be standing or walking for more than 20 minutes. And so he's had side effects for a while. He just lately started to go out and do stuff and go to rallies and do his own flag waves and stuff. But it was a serious hit. I mean, he's lucky that he had a huge bump on his head. And so he got the worst of it, that's for sure.
I'm just curious, CNN, MSNBC, Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper, Rachel Maddow, how many of them brought you on the show to discuss this Antifa violence against you, Tiny, and Pete?
None of them did, but I'll tell you this much, though. A lot of them did call out Antifa. Morning Joe did. You know, all the liberal channels called him out. Nancy Pelosi called him out, even though it wasn't very sincere. She said they should all be arrested. The biggest one, the most impressive one to me, is the mayor of Berkeley. The mayor of Berkeley said they need to be classified as a gang, and he's like, his best friends are in Antifa and banned by any means necessary.
Right.
He is a member by any means necessary. So that was a big deal.
Absolutely, but I just want to say, Joey, that overall, the establishment media is a disgrace in terms of how little attention it's paying to this. And for instance, you should be on Don Lemon and Anderson Cooper talking about this. And as we know, the left, in a lot of ways, doesn't want to talk about this, right?
Force them to. That was my goal. That's right, because they don't want to talk about it. And that's why it was one of those things where I said, we're gonna keep exposing Antifa, so the left has to do one of two things, okay? They either need to separate themselves from Antifa and begin to publicly call them out, or they can just go down with Antifa. They can just burn down with Antifa. Because Antifa is seriously, it was supposed to be their foot soldiers, the ones that would control the streets, but the way we're doing it is Antifa is probably the biggest liability to the left now, right? If we continue to fight them and just having these huge brawls in the streets, then it would work to their advantage. But yeah, just going around and talking about love and peace and then, you know, getting beat up, like, that's not very good for the left. And that's that's the other thing we're starting to help people understand. And I'm helping the moderate left, okay? The moderate left is different from the rest of the left. The moderate left really does believe in a lot of the same things like freedom, love, peace, and all this stuff. Free speech. The moderate left believes in free speech. So if we keep exposing all these people on the left and we keep preaching, hey, you have to be against hate 100% of the time. Not just when someone's hateful because they're racist. Not just like you have to be against that too, but you have to be against all forms of hate. So if you go up to someone and you punch them because they're a Trump supporter, you have to be against that form of hate, right? It's all the same. And the moderate left is starting to catch on to that and starting to understand that.
Right, absolutely. And look, Joey, perhaps this is for another time. We might agree, disagree on some things to some extent. I believe very much that the left in and of itself, that very idea is evil, and it's a completely logical earthly incarnation of what Antifa is, because that is what the left is. But I understand that there are so many people that are part of the left that really are confused and they don't get it. and you're waking a lot of them up. And this is fantastic stuff. And so let's end with this, Joey. You also stress very much that you're not really that interested in talking to the choir. And you want to go into maybe the enemy camp, but also even to young people and people who don't know, and talk to them about communism, etc. Can you just briefly tell us just a few of your tactics of trying to show people why it's a good idea to, be very, wary of socialism and communism?
Yeah, so in terms of the history of Patriot Prayer, a lot of it hasn't gotten into details in terms of policy and stuff like that. That's why we constantly preach freedom and love and all these things. But one of the main things, though, like I was saying in that speech, is when you go and you talk to some of these kids and they think that communism is so cool, like they think it's so cool. And like that's the one thing I always talk to them about is help them understand, like, you've been spending your whole life fighting rules, your whole life you've been annoyed with people telling you what to do, all this stuff from your teachers, your parents, all this curfews, all this stuff. And it's like, now that you're 18 years old, you want to make sure that you vote for a government who doesn't act like your mommy and daddy, right? You need to vote for a government that stays off your back. You want to vote for a government that doesn't want to take your money, right? And so you got to kind of break it down. We have so many people in the youth who get caught up in the social issues, and they want the government, and that's just a distraction. They want the government to take care of social issues or whatever. And so, but we have to help people understand that you have to focus on freedom. You have to focus on the fact that it is amazing that now that you're 18, you can, except for drinking, you can literally go out and do whatever you want, okay, as long as you don't hurt anyone else. But we have people who are slowly and incrementally brainwashing us to allow us to agree every single year to slowly allow this government to squeeze tighter and tighter, like to seriously put their boots on our necks. And so, but yeah, going out on the streets is the thing that the youth, that's why they watch the videos, that's why they may or may not come out, but that's what really draws them in and appeals to them. And hopefully for us, what we want to do is we want to bring people to the door, okay? We want to bring them to the door, and then they got to go out. They got to go out and open the door themselves and go find other people to help them learn more and grow more. But we don't get into too many details, and that's done on purpose.
Joey, when you sit back and reflect in terms of everything that's happened, in terms of all of these dangers posed by the left, and just your role in everything that's happening, how do you see the meaning of your life and how it's come down? Do you see, for instance, Jesus playing, you mentioned Jesus, your Christianity. Is there a spiritual dimension perhaps to your life now that you look? How, in general, I guess what I'm asking is, how do you see the meaning of your life and how all of this has come down and your role in what you're doing?
So basically, yeah, I've grown a lot spiritually in the last 2 years, but the last year I've grown so much spiritually. It's amazing. I've learned a lot about myself. I've had some help from other people too to kind of help me who I am, what's my role in this world, because we all have our own purpose. We all have specific things that we're good at. And the one thing that I believe that God has asked me to do on the West Coast specifically is basically to protect the truth. The truth is under attack right now. And so for me, it's not about just going on videos and just saying, this is true, and just telling people the truth. It's about going out there and like bringing the truth out into the limelight, like, for example, like the whole Antifa thing. It's not saying, oh, Antifa is violent. It's going out there and just proving it, and protecting the truth. And so that's what I believe. This is a spiritual journey for me. I'm going to grow so much more in the next, the rest of my life. But yeah, it's definitely a spiritual journey.
Joey, thank you so much. May God bless you for everything that you're doing. You're such a great inspiration, and I wish you the best in every way. For all of our viewers that are watching and they're on the edge of their seat and they're like, man, this Joey Gibson guy, we got to help this guy out. We got to get in touch with Patriot Prayer, and we want to get involved. Where do they go? What do they do? Yeah,
so right now they can go to Patriot Prayer on Facebook, but December 12th, our website will be open. I'm extremely excited. It's patriotprayerusa.com, and we're going to start expanding, and we're going to have lots of ways for people to help out and to kind of basically protect all over the country.
So for now, Patriot Prayer on Facebook. And everybody should write this down, patriotprayerusa.com.
December 12th.
Okay, fantastic. And what's the next thing on the agenda?
So basically, I'm just kind of trying to take the holidays to be with the family and you know, enjoy that time. But December 23rd in Portland, we're going to be marching for Jesus, which I'm really excited about. I think it's going to be really cool. You know, non-political. Basically, let's ask Jesus to kind of come into Portland and back into this country. Basically.
Wait a minute. That sounds a little bit white supremacist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Joey, you are a wonderful guy, and thank you for everything that you're doing. Good luck on the March for Jesus, and as a fellow Christian, with you all the way, my brother, and all power to you. And I hope that you now feel good about being a member of the Glazov Gang.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and we hope you'll be back. Thank you, Joey, for coming on.
Anytime. I'll see you later.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, for now, Patriot Prayer on Facebook. Check it out and help out Joey Gibson. And we'll see you soon on the Glazov Gang. Good night.